welcome to another episode of The GameSmith, and in today's episode, we're going to be making rocky shorelines. I've got real stones, and I've got cardboard. Guess which one I used? In this episode of The GameSmith, we're going to be working on rocky shorelines for our water tile series. Now, this build is actually being divided into two very distinct parts. Obviously this part, and another video will be made in a couple of weeks. And all of you, the viewers in the community, will play a very important role in what happens in between. Now, we've been very fortunate here at The GameSmith to have some subscribers who are very engaged and have a lot of awesome ideas on how I can improve the builds that I've been making. Now, I thought, why not tap into this amazing resource and ask for your feedback on how to finish off a build. And we're going to do that by dividing this video into two distinct parts. Part one is what you're about to see, where I'm going to work on this particular build up to a given point. Then I'm going to stop, and at that point, you, the community, will get an opportunity to tell me how I'm going to finish the build. Now, you can do that by posting in the comment section down below, clicking on the discussion tab and posting in that area on YouTube. You can also head over to Facebook and post in our discussion group there on this topic. You can also head on over to TheGameSmith.org, and we're going to have a discussion on this topic there as well. The point is that I would like to get as much feedback from you as possible in order to tell me how to finish this build the best possible way. Now, you'll have about a week to organize your response and give that feedback to us so that I can then take that information and synthesize it into another video that will be the part 2 of this build. Now, anyone's ideas that we use in order to finish this build, no matter how small or how large, even if they're the same ideas that I had in order to finish this build, will be given a massive shout out in the next video that shows us completing this project. Alright, that's enough jibber jabber. Let's head to the table, shall we? We're going to start with our canvas artist boards that we've been using in our other water tile videos. Next, we're going to need some double corrugated cardboard. This is usually very easy to find. I get mine from the local comic book store since they recycle a lot of it every week. We're going to use this cardboard as the basis of our rocky shoreline features. As always, I start with a plan. In this case, I want to have a basic layout of the rocky features I want for this board. I also have to consider how much of the board will be water. I want the water to be moving from this direction. I also think I want roughly half the tile to be covered by the rocky shore. I'll sketch out a few basic shapes that'll identify the location and the shapes of the rocks that I want to start with. I'll zoom in here a bit, and now I'm thinking I have too many rocks out front. It seems a bit cluttered to me. I'm also thinking the actual shoreline here is rather featureless, and I need to improve that. Now, I've changed my mind about the layout, and I've created more island-like formations. I did this so the land side of the board doesn't have this tall cardboard border on the edge of the canvas board. I can also fill in the gaps between the rocks with sand or water as I choose. Now all we have to do is cut out our cardboard shapes that will serve as our rocks. We don't need to be precise since we're going to end up covering the shapes later on. Also, while you're doing this, please be aware of two things. First, please create as little waste as possible and recycle the cardboard when you're done. And second, please use your cutting tools safely. Make sure that your blades are sharp. Dull blades require more force so that can easily increase the risk of injury. Avoid drawing the blades towards your body or appendages. If the blade slips, you could have a very bad day. Also, please work in a well-lit space. You need to be able to see what you're doing. Obviously, it's a lot easier to change your mind about the layout before anything is glued down. I think this is basically the same layout I started with. Next, we're going to build up our rocks with multiple layers of cardboard. It's easy enough to trace out our shapes on another piece of cardboard.
I'm also going to number the parts so I don't get them mixed up after they're all cut out. I'm also trying to pack these pieces close together in order to reduce waste. Normally I would trace these shapes out touching each other in order to reduce as much waste as possible, but I want to make sure that you can see the different shapes on the camera. Next, we cut out our rocky shapes. You could create column-like stones or shape them so that the stones taper upwards. You could create small outcrops or overhang ledges too. I don't need to go on about this, I'm sure you get the idea. For the larger stone features, I want to trace out my first layer and cut the second cardboard layer to roughly match. I'll number these also, although I probably really don't need to. Next, I want to match up my shapes and consider how I want to stack them. I think I want a smaller sized second layer on top of the first. I can also make any tiny adjustments to the shape I want as I go along. I can repeat this process for the third layer of cardboard, and if I wanted more layers I could keep going. After cutting the shapes out to the size that I want, I can stack these layers together to create gradual steps, or terraces. This stepping structure is just one of many ways to cut the cardboard into the kind of rocky shoreline you want. Likewise, these smaller stone formations will just be successively smaller cardboard layers built up in order to create height. Next, we can use some bargain PVA glue in order to fasten our layers together and to the base. Normally I'd use a thin layer of glue that I spread to the edges with a paintbrush. However, we're going to be adding hot glue to the top of this, so I'm not really concerned about warping or that the edges aren't secure. Unfortunately, there isn't some secret or masterful gluing technique to share with you here. In fact, this is about as close as I get to slapping glue around and sticking stuff together. It is important, however, to remember that this is the last stage of the build that you can easily change the layout of your rocky shore. In fact, I'm changing my layout from 5 stony pillars out front to 4. For the next step, we'll use our trusty glue gun to provide some edging and reinforcement to our rocky features. We can use the hot glue to smooth out the transitions between the layers. We can also seal up the corrugation so moisture doesn't get trapped inside. We could also use the hot glue to add texture to our rocky shapes. Also, you don't have to use the glue gun the same way on each feature. This is a great opportunity to experiment. There are a number of things that we could do with this versatile and inexpensive crafting tool. Now I've skipped ahead to show you how I've used the hot glue gun on the cardboard. Everything is secure, so I don't need to worry about parts falling off at the table. Here are the materials I was going to use to finish this build. Of course, the colored tissue paper, the sand, pebbles, paint, and tinfoil. I haven't included things like paintbrushes or glue here though. But these are the materials that I was planning on using in order to finish this build. I hope the simplicity of this list of materials inspires you.
Please remember, you have about a week in order to formulate a response and post that information. I'll put the relevant dates in the information section down below and on the discussion area of the YouTube channel. And it's just now occurring to me what happens if no one responds. Or your instructions are so bizarre I can't understand them. Or you're wanting me to use really weird building materials that weren't actually part of the build to begin with. I guess I'm going to have to fall back on what I was going to do originally. But anyways, that doesn't matter because that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to get swamped with your amazing ideas and how to finish this build. And we're going to put all of that together in the second part of this video. And so please go fire up your imagination engines and send me your ideas. I can't wait to hear them. And until next time, I'll see you at the table.